Yo, what up, man? Welcome back to another episode of the Monday Night Crew. It's your boy K. Mims. I'm not gonna tell y'all what Lewis was talking about before we got on because it's like family business. You know what I'm saying? I got the ladies of the show, Princess Asia. What up? What up?
Hey.
I got my bros with me, Louis B, DJ J Dub. What's happening? What's happening?
What up? What up?
All right, before we jump into the movie review, I got an opinion question. I like asking these because this was a debate. I need to know this. All right, I need y'all opinion on this. If someone is single now, there's not a scenario, just an opinion. Somebody's single, they broke up, they cool, they out dating, but they last sexual interaction was with their ex, but it was only because they didn't want new partners. Is that a red flag?
No.
Damn,
That's a green flag.
is it?
I think so.
I don't feel like nobody would. If somebody's like, yeah, we dating. I've been broken up with this person for a year. The last time I had sex was 2 weeks ago, but it was with them. I don't think that's going to go over well. That's me personally. I went on a complete. I didn't think it was a red flag. I think it would make the person you talk to approach with caution. That's my opinion.
Let me ask you this. Why is this a conversation?
What you mean?
So if I broke up with my ex, I guess you said for a year now, and I'm just dating. I don't know if you mean like dating multiple people, whatever. Like I'm just single. I'm playing field, whatever. Why is the person who I'm talking to asking me like the last time that I have sex? Are me and that person having sex currently?
Y'all about to cross over to that space. Y'all are getting past like court and dating. Y'all really like each other. Y'all are starting to ask the questions that matter about what moves forward. So it's not like a first date type joint, but it's like, okay, I really rock with you. I'm liking you. I'm gonna be honest. It came from the other way though, Princess. It came from, say, if you asked a question like, personally, I don't get into like we done had at the October pod party about like body counts. No, but I think it's responsible to kind of ask, like, if we about to cross over, how sexual active have you been? X, Y, Z. Personally, now y'all about to cross over into that space. You ask, the question is answered. They're not with that person. It was a year ago, but that's who they deal with sexually, just because they don't want no new partners currently. Obviously, until in this scenario, you like this person. You don't like the question, or you're not asking that, or what?
I'm just not asking that. Like my main thing is like I'm not really asking that. I just really want to know. Even if we have sex one time, that doesn't mean that we're exclusive with each other. Now, if we got to the exclusivity part of it, then it's like, okay, we're not going to have any more partners or whatever. But prior to that, like if it's just we're dating and we're about to have sex, I don't expect you to ask me like, well, when's the last time you had sex? You can ask me like what my status is. But like, you don't need to know when the last time that I had sex.
Okay.
You don't.
Asia, what's your thoughts? Okay,
my thoughts is it's not so much of asking me when's the last time I had sex. It's more of like asking me who is the last person I had sex with. I guess that's where I'm.
That information was given. You asked when's the last time. That information about you knew the ex is broken up. That information was given.
Okay. First of all, yeah, I think that that's interesting that it was given like that. I just think that that's interesting that information was given, period. But I do think that at first I was with everybody and I was like, nah, that's fine. But when you reset it, Keenan, I'm like, yeah, that would make me feel like, okay, so
for sure, everybody would feel away about like, that. Come on.
So is it just sexual? Like, was it that good that you couldn't leave and like go to somebody else? Like, I would have more questions if I'm about to start. And now I'm thinking, because for me in the back of my head, I'm gonna be thinking like, well, dang, they probably still with their ex.
110%. Fellas, what y'all think if y'all get that from a lady? Lewis can't answer. Jay, what you think?
Me personally, that's not.
other than status, like Princess said, that's information that doesn't need to be known. I'm here to have a good time. We're not about to be sitting here because, first of all, to me, you know how I am. You about to fuck the mood up, and then I'm gonna get irritated, and then I'm about to leave because, like, what are we talking about? Like, you know,
so but I don't. So the thing is, I don't think it was in context of like right before. I
don't care if it's at dinner. It don't matter the context. Like, we ain't talking about that right now. At the end of the day, your status is important to me. Number one, number two, I'm strapping up anyway. So what are we talking about here?
We about to go into the movie review. Lewis, stop it. Yeah. So I think y'all are worried about. I don't think. But I don't. The debate was more so about. Is it a red flag that he's still connected with his ex in that way more so than it was about if you were safe or not?
I would prefer it being somebody that they had that sexual encounter with, like, because to me that's safer. Because it's like, okay, you've been with this person, y'all have had experience, y'all have history, versus like a random body. Me personally, right. Okay, you sleeping with your ex, that's cool. Like, I'm not here for that. I don't care about your ex or none of that. But okay, that's what happened. So if that was brought up, my answer to that would be, okay, I understand that. That's cool. Like, I would prefer you sleeping with your ex than just some random guy.
No. Keep that body count low.
So, hey, Lewis, if you ain't gonna answer, don't ad-lib neither.
I was trying to let Jay answer.
All right, but nah. So that was my question. I kind of feel I don't think it's a question in like dating, like at a table about to do anything, but I think it's a question like when we were talking about if you about to cross over into being exclusive, that type of conversation. I'm gonna be real with you. I think I will have questions if that not about them actually having sex or that part, but like them still being connected in that way. The sex part is like, and I ain't really, we grown, but like that, what does that communication look like? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think X is just over here.
So my question is, I don't think that would come out if you never asked the question of who you had sex with. Like,
yeah, I guess that's how I feel too. Yeah.
Say that one more time.
Go ahead, Jay.
I don't think the information would come up if I'm not probing you and asking you, well, who did you last have sex with?
My exact thought.
That wouldn't be a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if it did come out, Keenan, yes, it would make me feel like, oh, okay, so you still messing around with your ex? You know, like, are you done with it or not? But yeah, it would never, unless they just volunteer the information, I would never ask.
For sure. Man, appreciate everybody tapping in right now, man. Click that like button. Appreciate everybody that's here right now. Salute. All right, so let's get into it, man. We about to get into our movie. All right, man. So Tyler Perry dropped Divorce in the Black. I'm gonna give a quick consensus of what the movie was about. So you had Dallas and I forgot it. Was it Ava? I know it was Ava. Was it? Dallas and Ava from a very small town in Georgia. Kind of the like bad boy vibe meets great girl raised in a certain family. They get together. They move away. There's some traumatic experiences shared. And the movie goes through basically like what it's like coming from two different ends of the totem pole trying to be together. I'm going to start with a low key. I want to know this. Why is everybody on the internet saying Tyler Perry hate black women because of the type of movies he makes? Did y'all get that from this movie?
No, I'm not one of those people. So
okay,
I don't know.
What about like I'm not understanding how that ties into. So this is the thing. I'm gonna be real. I feel opposite of a lot of people. To me, movie wise, it was a good movie. Like I didn't put too much stock into like, oh, the message or what was he saying here. But like I could sit and watch it. It wasn't like, oh my God, I didn't get distracted. It was decent.
Now, it was entertaining. It was entertaining.
That start was a little wild, my boy.
That start was crazy.
It was wild.
Yeah, like that was wild.
Like
that was aggressive.
That was extreme.
Too much.
Yeah.
Sure. Hey, when the first time she said no, leave it. I said, I know they not about to take this man about.
Hey, that body out that man's head was bobbing like that.
I said, and I'm just like,
I said, yeah, it's over with.
What do you have to do to get that acting job to be the dead man?
Hey, bro.
I couldn't have done it. I would have been laughing my ass off. I couldn't have done it.
That's what I'm saying.
I couldn't have done it.
Yeah. Hey, look. Hey, and Corey went on an interview and said he was acting his ass off because he was heavy as hell.
That's all I kept thinking about. I'm like, are we really doing this right now? Like, a body would be so heavy to take it out of the casket.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, that's immediately where my head went.
And I'm gonna tell you, as soon as
I'm grieving over my brother, and you want me to pick him up?
Yeah,
that's no, man.
And I was like,
grab his feet.
Oh man. I was like, when the dad started saying, like, oh, you going to like this keeping them out of hell. I was like, at first, I was like, okay, we starting at a funeral. Where's Pops going with this?
Yeah,
because bro is starting to stab at him, and I'm like, bro, ain't nobody gonna sit there and take that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, so I'm like, okay, I see dad hates him. I couldn't be in no situation like that. Then he take him out the casket. I'm like, okay, Tyler, we went super ratchet first 10 minutes in.
And I thought his mom was gonna take it all off.
When she started taking off her
suit, I was like, she getting naked? What the hell is going on here?
But Katie, to your point, I want to say two things. I think to your original point about black women feeling a certain type of way about his portrayal, he is not afraid to make black women villains, right? And I think certain movies, they're like there's always like a black woman villain at certain points. But one thing I've learned to appreciate with Tyler Perry is the lens that I watch his movies through now are totally different. I don't watch his movies with the same expectation as I would if I was watching maybe a different production. I understand that his niche is making movies to entertain black people. It's not going to always make sense. It's not going to always be, something that we've seen before. But that first scene, it's like he almost made it a point to take whatever we've been accustomed to seeing in settings like that and make it entertaining and grab our attention.
Sure.
So, I've learned to appreciate his art a lot differently.
But this is my thing, though, Lewis. To that point, she wasn't even a villain. Like,
his mom? You don't think his mom was a villain?
No. The
Ava, the wife.
Ava, yeah.
No, but his mom was a villain.
Mom. Okay, yeah. You're right.
His mom was a villain.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in my mind, she wasn't enough of a main character for that to be the consensus about hating black women. Because this is the thing, in my opinion. So the thing I did like about it, not going too deep, I think that relationship happens all the time, like the savior mentality of meeting the bad boy of here, and I want to say this dude, I can show you more and more. But I'm like that happens. But shit, he was more of, to me, Corey did a great job acting, to me personally.
He did.
But I'm like, to me, he really was the antagonist. She really wasn't. She didn't do anything wrong.
She didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that for the next part of the conversation, what did y'all think about the depiction of trauma in relationships? Like, how do you think it was represented in the movie? First of all, let me take a step back. I'm sorry, y'all. What was y'all overall thoughts? I gave mine, but I didn't give y'all. What was y'all overall thoughts of the movie before we jump into the next part? I'll start with you, Lewis.
Oh, go.
No, it was entertaining. I didn't have any expectation. The first scene, I think, set the tone for what the movie was going to be. And the only critique I'll give Tyler Perry, he just got to learn how to end movies better. It was anticlimactic a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I give you that. Princess, what you think?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I agree with Lewis. It was entertaining, and I think now I have a certain level of expectation for a Tyler Perry film. And like you said, Lewis, like it's not the standard that I set for another film. And so that's why no matter what comes up on the screen, I know that it's Tyler Perry, and I'm always entertained at best. And like I'm never disappointed and writing all these think pieces on Facebook. Like it's Tyler Perry, and it's gonna be solid in some areas, maybe some questionable makeup wigs, I don't know. But there's going to be a message, and it's going to be entertaining. So, I mean, I enjoyed it.
For sure. What about you, Asia? What's your thoughts on it?
I thought, like, when it comes to Tyler Perry, right, I just realized it's like there are certain things that you're going to get, right? So there's always going to be a church scene of some kind, right?
Nice.
There's always going to be the dude that comes out of nowhere that then they, it's like there are certain components that we know is coming, right? There's always going to be the elder person speaking wisdom to the younger character. We know how this goes. What I love though is that every time that I know that those components are there, he still takes it a step far, not saying in a bad way, in an entertaining way. So for instance, I knew that the church scene was going to be dramatic. Did I think that was going to be what was happening though? No.
Hell no.
Right.
Nothing could have prepared me for that, right?
Right.
I actually really liked, there were two things that I really, really enjoyed. I really liked the best friend. What I liked about her character is because she's definitely a woman from the North. That
I knew you were going to say that.
Like, and for me, it was really one of those, like, because I have friends that are from the South, and there's certain things that it's like, oh, Asia, you're so aggressive, or oh, Asia, you talk so fast, and you're so passionate, da 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 da. And for me, I'm like, yeah, I did not learn that was a thing that I was doing until I got around people that were not from the North. And so for me, I really did like resonate with the best friend because I'm like, dang, it's like you doing like that's a lot, but I get it. You know what I'm saying?
You about that action?
I think our love shows up differently.
About that action?
Yeah, no, for real though. And something else that it's like we're doing too much. Like we get into the action. The last thing I'll say is, and this kind of goes to what you were just asking about, Keenan, the scene with the mom, with Ava's mom apologizing to her after the mom read the list.
For sure.
I thought it was so powerful because how many times do parents play a role in the ways that we show up in relationships and do not take accountability for the things that they planted, right? And so then it's like, especially I guess as I was a church kid, my parents were preaching and stuff. And so like when the mom said, wow, I was taking care of everybody else in the church, I didn't even see what was going on. When I say y'all, I felt that one. Because I think a lot of us that grew up in the church, we have church hurt because we spent so much time in church and it was so much focus on other people and serving that we felt neglected in some areas. So seeing the mom like really apologizing for that, I thought that was my favorite. That was my favorite scene.
So appreciate everybody tapping in right now on the Monday Night Crew, man. Appreciate everybody. Jay, what's your thoughts, bro? What's your overall thoughts of the movie, brother?
I thought it was a great production. Personally, I had a few scenes that kind of stuck out to me. With Tyler Perry, I feel like with his films, he tries to channel experiences that he's had with Black women. And I think a lot of people take that away from him. And they're like, you're always trying to put a negative light. But if that's all he has experienced, he also tries to spin off and show you ways to deal with those people that are in your life, because everybody has an aunt like that. Everybody has a mother like that. Everybody has, in some type of family. It doesn't have to be Black, but I love that he does that personally. The last thing I would say is to kind of spin off what you said, Asia. My thing is that was one of my favorite scenes too with the mom and daughter, but I looked at it from a different perspective, from the daughter's perspective of she was in a place to where after the mother read and she was apologizing, when she said like, I was embarrassed. Like, we don't look at kids and realize like people are going through a lot of shit and they're not understanding how to communicate that. It's not necessarily saying that she didn't want to come to her mom and her dad, but when you in it, you don't know how to communicate those things. So I think that was very like refreshing for her mom to apologize, but for her also to acknowledge, like when she talked to her best friend and said, "Nah, I needed that conversation." You don't even know you need those conversations until you have those conversations. So I thought that he had a lot of good points in there for me.
Hey, for sure. So I'm gonna go a couple things I didn't like. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go here with it. It took me like halfway through the movie to know that it was. Oh, hold on. We got a couple comments. Matt, I'm not reading that. Britt, hold on.
Hey, that comment.
Yeah, because Matt ain't on that. Brittany said, "What's up, Britt?" Brittany said,
"What up, Britt?"
It was slow. Matt,
we already knew Britt's review.
Hey, look, right. Here come Matt. All I know is Tyler Perry ain't sponsored by Remy.
Hey, come on.
I'm pretty sure he may have some stocks in it, but thank you.
Yeah, he got something.
Yeah,
I know. Before you get into that, bro, I do want to say one thing though. But that best friend, the dude,
Hold on, Jay. I'm about to get on that. Jay, hold on, Jay. We about to go there.
Yeah,
we about to go there. We about to go there. We about to go there.
Yeah.
I got a problem with
It's
him.
because he was light skinned.
I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you why. Hold on, let me read this. There was a lot of
Like,
mixed pieces. I needed more backstory on the Bertrand brothers. I agree with that, Brittany. I feel like Corey just kind of popped back up with drinking problem. I'm gonna tell you for real.
That's true.
So that was my critique, but the movie couldn't have been 2 hours with that background. Because two of the things, to your point, Brittany, that I wanted to know, what was the dynamics between the brothers' influence on him? Like there was calls who was like, "Hey man, did you hurry up and get the divorce?" Like what? But there was no, it didn't show like the way they came up. Is that how they always operated? Was he trying to break away from that? He was sharing how
he killed his dad.
He was sharing how about killing his dad and stuff. It never went. I'm like, damn, I thought that flashback was going to happen throughout to give us more context. Because the one thing I do feel like he dropped the ball on, it should have showed more of Dallas's internal struggle. Like we saw it outwardly, but we don't. They kind of talked about the trauma, but we don't know the actual internal struggle about what he was going between. Not saying what he was doing was right. Never put your hands on people, but that's a real thing. You know what I mean?
Can I say something to that? Real
absolutely.
Quickly? I do think, like, even though I really do wish that there was more backstory and all the things, I think once again Tyler Perry does a good job. He touches on a lot of different issues, which it sometimes feels undone. For instance, when we talk, even your question around trauma, that means he had unresolved trauma that he was not processing, that he was not actually thinking about, that he only is going through the trauma and all those things when he is drunk and having those mini episodes, which I think is true and real for a lot of people. This idea, so we see the consequences of unresolved trauma, because it's not all nice and neat and a lot of people don't process it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the movie would have been different if he was processing, or we saw some of that going on. But for somebody that's not doing any of that, that's super real. So that part is like, I wish there was more, but Tyler didn't.
And can I just say that I don't know how many people felt like this, but I really they kept saying Atlanta was an hour and a half from where they were from. I sincerely, with my whole heart, y'all, wanted to know, where were they supposed to be from? It was that family. What's their name? How do you say it? Bertrand? Whatever.
Bertrand.
Bertrand. What was, like, where was it an hour and a half outside of Atlanta where they were burying brothers in the backyard? Like, I really wanted to know the location. Like, that bothered me. I just thought they were going to slip out and say it. They kept saying Atlanta, an hour and a half from Atlanta. I'm like, where are y'all doing this type of nonsense at? Like, did we cross over into Alabama? Like, is this just somewhere else in Georgia? Like, what is going on?
And
nah,
I ain't go ahead. I'm sorry.
Princess, when we travel, I'm not gonna lie, it's some rural areas in Georgia.
I mean, I know it is, really, but I just want to know where's, because y'all burying folks in the backyard. Let me just stay in Atlanta then, I guess.
You ain't lying. So this is a couple problems I had, man. So it took me like halfway through the movie to realize that that Dallas, and I think his name was Jim or whatever his name was, I didn't realize they were best friends and the women became friends because of them until like halfway through. So now I got a problem with old buddy. I'm not gonna lie.
No, Jim should have got his ass beat.
What? Hold on. Time out.
What he about the best friend, right?
He didn't defend his wife like he was supposed to. He was getting pussy the whole
movie.
We talking about, but what I'm saying is,
his wife was just sitting there talking about something. But then with the plot came, then you realize, he had that dirt on him.
That's exactly what I'm about to get at.
What you got on me? You're not about to talk reckless like that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But this is the thing though. Like, that's what made me think about the dynamic, because when he kept saying that to her, I was thinking that the girls was best friends and that's just her boyfriend. So I'm like, why are you talking reckless like that? But he probably felt like he could because of what information he had.
At the beginning, he said that though. At the beginning, you remember the dude said to Hunger, like, hey, we grew up here. You didn't.
Hey, either way it go, man. I'm gonna tell you where he dropped the ball. I need to know who's sending them pictures, because it was him.
Hey, facts.
It was him. He was sending them pictures. That was payback. And the second part, I got a bone to pick. You can't have boyfriend number 2 all up in the crib, though.
That's true. What pictures was she sending? Who sent it?
I feel like the friend, because he had the dirt, was like, I feel like the best friend, but not because he had the dirt. The best friend was sending Dallas all the pictures of like the get-togethers and all that stuff.
Oh,
like,
okay.
You were feeding him that stuff, causing him to react a certain way. And when he acted out of control, it was like trying to do his due diligence of sharing because he had dirt on him. So I'm trying to tell you what's going on now because I had dirt on him. But like, I'm gonna be real with you, man. You can't have boyfriend number 2 at the crib, man. Y'all go out to eat or something like then we ain't friends no more, bro. You can't do that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Come on, man. Ain't no way.
Two at the crib. When was that? What scene was that?
Whenever he actually spilled, like when he actually told about him cheating. Remember, he popped up at the crib and he called. What was the wife's name? Rona.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
He called her a bitch or something like that.
Yeah,
that was crazy for him to say that in front of the husband, in front of Jim. That was
he
crazy.
Called everybody a bitch.
He did. Yeah. and that man left. Hey, Lewis, that man left untouched.
Yeah,
crazy. For real. He was calling everybody a bitch.
Crazy.
But and the thing I think the dynamic was weird about the friend. I know y'all gonna get on me. I'm sorry. But like the best friend was trying to be there, but she kept saying, like, girl, I'm gonna drive down there. Never drove. I'm gonna stay the night. Never stayed the night. I'm gonna be with you tomorrow. Wasn't with her tomorrow. I'm like, you just giving all these supportive opportunities and not following through. Like, what's going on?
She was getting shot down though. She was getting shot.
Yeah, didn't she tell her she didn't want her to come? Or something?
Hey, when you my road dog, you can't get rid of me.
Every single time, the best friend was like, "Yeah, I'm filling up right now." Every time she said no.
She got shot.
You know what? But something else I would say when Homeboy came and spilled the beans, she was like, "All right, y'all can go. You can. I ain't here to support you. We got to fix our shit." She was like, "Yeah, you can go."
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting, right? Because sometimes with friends, like that was actually the point that I analyzed. Like sometimes with people that you're close to, when their shit starts spilling into yours, now you got to create those boundaries.
Yeah,
I give you that. But my thing is, brother, you can't go in and like you knew that before you started letting us all over here. You knew I had that.
Yep,
you know what I'm saying? Like you already know what you're capable of. And this is the thing. Thank God it's not my experience, but like that's also, I'm not condoning cheating. That's why you gotta watch who you tell, man. Because that shouldn't have never been a thing. Just because you in this situation, we supposed to be bros, and you was, you know what I'm saying, we was cool. I could tell you when I was doing it, you was with it, covering for me, and now you get in a little situation, you telling the whole 9 yards. Nah, dog,
it was just his feelings was hurt that he let old buddy in the house.
You can't do that neither. That was
yeah, that was a violation. Number one, I agree with you, Princess. Homeboy should have never been there. Number two for me was the fact of the initiating the divorce, being very vocal about it. Like, yeah, we ready to get this. He's showing up at jobs and everything. And then play victim when she's signing the papers was mind-blowing to me. Like, not even think about it. I'm like, you just initiated the divorce. I'm confused right now.
So but before we close out on the Divorce in Black movie review, do y'all feel like his films, this one included, are like helping or hindering the look of Black people and couples in the media? Or is it just like a movie, we should leave it at that? Or do you think it keeps driving the narrative of what quote unquote Black couples or we look like in the media? What do y'all think about that? Because he got one of the strongest pipelines
personally, I think that it's just a film. And honestly, just like we all just sat up here and said, these scenarios are real and we're living them every day. So to me, I feel like you seeing it on screen, that's not driving us any further left or right, in my opinion. Because if you're going to keep doing it, whatever the toxic behavior, whatever, like, that's just how it's going to be. If Tyler Perry totally changes the narrative of what he writes his film about, I don't think that personally it's going to change the Black community. Like, I don't think we're going to magically be better just because Tyler Perry starts writing about something else. I think that these are real experiences, and I think people need to be mature enough to watch it in that lens.
Yeah, well said. I couldn't agree more, Princess.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, that was good, Princess.
Yeah, because I feel like he's the only person. Black doesn't matter. Like we can have 10,000 Transformer films and nobody questions how the plot is the same all the time. He makes something. It's like, oh, you're redundant, bro. Literally every Transformer film has the same plot, beginning, middle, end, and we don't say nothing. We Jay was talking
I'm about to say,
about
what about the conversation me and you had? We talking about the Fast and the Furious movies. You got fucking cars weighing down a plane on a runway. Nobody's discussing that. Nobody's saying this is absurd. We're not talking about two Chargers.
Those are my favorites.
Okay, two Chargers carrying down the street a big ass vault. We're not talking about that. We not.
That's Fast 5. That's my shit.
I ain't gonna lie, they are good. They be entertaining though.
I'm not saying they're not entertaining, but I'm just saying nobody's talking about how these Chargers are pulling a vault down the street or how 4 Chargers are holding down a big ass airplane. Nobody's talking about that.
You know what I think though? I think people are mad, like low key, that like Tyler Perry is not like a Spike Lee. And I think that we have to be able to separate that you can be a Black creative and have 2 very different lanes, right? Because I do think the messaging of a Spike Lee joint, we know what we're getting with a Spike Lee joint. You know what I'm saying? Like with all of them, it's a Spike Lee joint. You know, Tyler Perry films, he has his own lane, very, very separate. They both do a great job of storytelling. But I think the purpose of them both, they're different. And that's okay. I think people need to understand it's okay. Not everything needs to be like, yeah, this is gonna put us better in all the things. It's like it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Princess.
I was just gonna say, and also no one is forcing anybody to watch Tyler Perry films. Right. Like that's the part that I just feel like people totally, it's as if someone is literally saying you have to watch this. You don't. So if you know it's going to be the same type of movie every time, don't watch it.
110%.
And Princess, let me add to that because me and Keenan had a conversation about this. Let's say he does do the same thing every time, right? We talked about this with artists. If they have a certain type of flow, right? A certain type of melody, whatever the case may be. If that's working for them, why would you want them to change that? They talk about the baby all the time. He sounds the same on every song. Even though he sounds the same to certain people, he is still different. And you know, and so for me, Tyler Perry, they can say he's doing the same thing. I like his movies.
I do too.
I don't see nothing wrong with what he's doing.
I think Princess. I'm sorry, go ahead, Princess.
No, go ahead.
I'm about to say you hit the nail on the head. I think you gotta watch them to be movies. And the only thing I would say to what Asia said is, no disrespect to Spike Lee, he's obviously amazing, a pioneer. His movies were trauma filled too. It was just a different type of trauma. Like it wasn't all relationship based. It had social issues, but there was some big trauma moments in a lot of his movies, which I think is still a representation of what the Black community goes through. But I want to swing it back to you, Princess, so you don't lose your thought. Or did I already take from you?
No, I was just gonna say, going back to like your original question, I think this all stems from the fact that Tyler Perry started his career with Madea, like talking about like how it's like the Black trauma, like with women or whatever, about how he doesn't like Black women. I think it all stems back from Madea, and it came to a point where people didn't like it, and I think just literally from there, people put aside all of his major accomplishments, all of the Black actors and actresses that he actually puts in his film that others are not putting in their films. Like Tyler Perry does a great job with that. Like people who he's discovered from like YouTube and stuff like that. But it's literally, in my opinion, just because it's Tyler Perry. Like, it's like, I don't know what it is with our community that it's almost like we don't want him to win, even though he's winning. Like, he literally has Tyler Perry Studios, and we still, as a community, just choose to shit on him. That very much so annoys me. But we want to talk about Black excellence.
For sure.
Yeah, I've shifted my perspective, and that's why I only watch it. I don't have that same expectation. I watch it through the lens that this is a Tyler Perry production, and I enjoy it, and I support him. I'm gonna support him
for sure, 110%. All right, so We got a couple video reactions before we get into the topics of the night. Y'all know the first one coming off the book. All right, here we go. Take that back.
What's up, baby? How you doing? Good to see you, man. Everything good? How you doing, Mike? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Y'all want to do this? Yeah, real quick. This is fire. Love it. Love it. Dion will love this. Absolutely. I'm more.
Okay, so that's what happened this week. Megan Good gets picked up by Michael Ealy. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna start with this though, that a lot of people don't want to acknowledge. He dapped Jonathan Majors up first. If you go back and look, his arm was coming from around Jonathan Majors before. They don't make the pickup no better, no worse. But people are acting like he didn't acknowledge him. So I'm going to throw it to Asia. I'm gonna go to you first. What's your thoughts on the pickup, the acknowledgement? Is it too much? Are dudes being insecure? What you think about what we just witnessed?
I think that the media is shady. The only reason I'm saying that is because before I actually saw the video, I don't know if it's a video reaction, but I got to give context if I know it. She had commented and she said, she was like, wow, that's crazy that y'all would show only this part of it, not how he actually gave him a big brother, like a bear hug to him first. It wasn't just like a oh, hey man, what's up? It was like almost the same type of energy. They were having a full-blown conversation of encouraging each other, blah, blah, blah. And then he moved on to her, right? So I think we got a whole different, we won't see that part of it, right? But video reaction wise though,
hell no, man. I don't give a damn if you give me a hug.
I don't know. Like Jonathan wasn't bothered by it, you know.
Whoa, his body language showed differently, in my opinion.
In your bag, Louis B.
Fair. I guess I should say like he didn't, like it wasn't like you know how I guess in my head, and once again, I'm not a dude, I wouldn't know. But in my mind, I'm like, you know, he might maybe like, you know, like do one of these to give Meg like touch on the waist, like hey, I'm still here, relax yourself. But I did think the pickup was a lot. I don't think it was a big brother because Megan, she described it as like a big brother hug. That did not feel like a big brother hug to me.
Hell no.
Neither one of us would greet you guys like that.
Bro, that's my exact point. Like, come on, dog. Like, there's no way.
So so I think that if that's his personality, maybe it's understood, and you know, maybe there's certain contexts that we may not know, but like Jonathan's body language is what did it for me, regardless of what happened prior to, because he started getting fidgety, he started looking around, he kind of seemed out of place when all that was going on. And if it's a relationship to where that's how you greet people, then I'm not going to feel uncomfortable. But his body language appeared to be uncomfortable. And man, put my damn woman down, boy. What's wrong with you?
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Like, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, Age. Well, let me go to Princess. Let me get the next lady's opinion before I say what I'm about to say. Princess, what's your thought?
It was a lot. She looked happy.
Oh my God.
You hear what I'm saying? Uncle Bino, appreciate you tapping in. Great. He said, let me just show this real quick before we begin. He said, great conversation. Appreciate you tapping in with the Monday Night Crew, man.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. It's all love. Thank you so much. But Princess finished trolling.
She looked happy. That's all I'm gonna say. Like the joy on her face was.
Hey, so let me ask you.
I mean, it was so much that like she had to hold her hat.
Oh my God, what's wrong with you?
Like, so, hey, Princess. So you get picked up like that. What happens next?
In front of Greg.
I'm just asking. I ain't saying. What happens next? So we cool with it. It don't matter about the questions we asking about what you doing with who, when, and where. But you can get picked up like that, beside me, in front of me. You didn't even do a tap like let me down. You like went through with it. You know what I'm saying? You could have aborted mission. You could have. Hey, let me down. Go ahead.
I'm not doing that.
You're not doing what?
I'm not doing that. I'm not getting picked up like that.
You didn't answer my question. You get picked up like that. What do you do next? You in the air, your feet off the ground. What do you do next?
Honestly, in that moment, I don't know. It would be a conversation for later. Like, I don't know how I would react in the actual moment.
Hey,
but I would definitely have a conversation with that person and be like, hey, don't ever pick me up like that again.
Yeah. After you smiled and laughed and held your hat. I ain't believing nothing you said. All right, come on. Hey, Jay, you see one of your homeboys, they dap you up, give you love, and they pick your lady up, man. What happens next?
First of all, the whole scenario is off. I don't give a fuck if he bear hugged him first, dapped him up, bought him a shot. When he picked Megan up, them draws were soaked. I'm gonna tell you that now. The way she giggled and got put back down, and the level of uncomfortable, he was so uncomfortable.
He was, bro.
Looking at that, because he said, first of all, that the look he had on there was almost like, like some high school shit. Like, damn, you ain't never let me pick you up like that. On some shit like that, he had that type of look on his face. She was very excited. I think it was very disrespectful from Michael Ealy's part to even do something like. I don't care what y'all friendship is like. You can be very excited. You ain't got to get nobody a church hug if y'all locked in like that. You can give a regular hug. And like to Louis' point, we're all very close on here. I'm not picking nobody. You know what I'm saying? Okay, how close we are. That's crazy. He should have channeled that creed and knocked his ass out. Because crazy work right there.
Hey, look, so we got a couple of comments. Brittany said, just don't spin me around. Still aggressive without the spin. Stop what you're doing, ma'am. Stop it. DJ Marcusell, what up, bro? He said Megan should have corrected that man, but Michael Ealy was playing in Major's face for sure.
Facts.
That's how I'm gonna take it.
Facts.
It just can't happen, dog. It just can't happen. Go ahead, Princess.
So what if this is like a friend that you haven't seen in a very long time?
It can't happen.
But your significant other is cool with them too, and like y'all, it's that first initial reaction.
You cannot pick up my woman.
You can't.
You cannot pick up my woman. It is what it is. You cannot pick up my woman.
Is that like the only thing? So like, let's say, like if they regular hugged and like he gave her like a kiss on the cheek. Is that the same? Is that different, or is this something about?
Well, we better be cool. You kissing on the cheek and stuff. Hell no.
And the reason I'm asking that is because, like, for instance, like something like with my friends, that is how we greet each other, right? Like it's no like it's especially in Miami, it's
in
just
front
like,
of their partner.
It's like a hug, kiss on the cheek, whatever. But I'm wondering now, is that
in front of their partner?
Yeah, it's like one of those things that I actually, like you just, it's not like a full blown like,
I know what you're talking about. It's one of those side kisses, like
it's like a
I know what you're talking about.
It's culture. It's culture.
Yeah,
you got custom. You got custom. I think in I don't want to mispronounce, but in Spanish culture, which is heavily influenced in Miami, that's custom. That's culture.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I think for me being a Southern raised black man,
don't pick up my lady.
Yeah. Hey, you take it there, you take it to this point, and then you kind of redirect. But I think that what I think is missed is it lasted a long time, right? You were intentionally trying to make it a point that you were happy to see that person. Mm-hmm. And I think he crossed the line. Personally, he just crossed the line.
For sure.
You can give me a long hug. I can embrace you for that extended amount of time. I wouldn't have been as offended if you hugging for a long time and say, "Oh, I missed you," all this other stuff. But picking me up, spinning me around, all of that, I think is a bit much. And I think that was overdoing it for sure.
That was my next question. Would it be different if the hug was just long? But you know how you can give, what a hug, like we hug tight and it's I
ain't tripping on that.
Hug.
I'm not tripping on that.
I'm not tripping on that. I'm
not. That's a true embrace.
Even if she do the arm up.
What's the arm up mean?
Like she said her arms around his neck. I'm gonna be real. I get what you're saying. I get where you're going, but I'll go here with it. Where his hand goes is going to make me be more on alert about that. I get what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
But like if this person goes low, like you can do that and you go high and not touch any of those things. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is I get that. The hug wouldn't bother me. I'm gonna tell you the second part that made me look like, okay, her embrace, it won't no tap, like get up out of here, like, hey, okay, appreciate you. She was going crazy with it too. Now let's talk about let's talk. Okay, princess, you can log off. You can log off because you want some mother tonight. But I'll say this: they're celebrities. They're in that space. Like I know their norms aren't always our norms, right? So let's respect that. But even with that being said, Lewis hit the nail on the head at the very beginning. Hey, dog. If it was that, his body language wouldn't have said what it said when it was happening. If it was a celebrity, regular smuggler norm, his body language wouldn't say like, "Hey, dog, put my girl down before we get the thumping in here." You know what I'm saying? I don't care, dog. You ain't gotta pick nobody up. And if you and I'm gonna be the man enough to say this: if you do the pickup, a quick little bye-bye. You can't be here and all up in the head. You got feet off the ground, right back on. 1,000, 2,000 back down. That was like she been at the knee. Like
she did bend at the knee.
Yeah, she bent at the knees and she held her hat.
Like, come on, dog. No, like honestly, we're leaving. We not enjoying that next picture that happened. Come on, man. Hey, man, you forgot something in the car, didn't you? Vroom. We up out of here. Dog. Any last thoughts? But I will say this. Obviously, they're close. It was just a line cross. Like you could be close with somebody and they do something they don't like. It was just a line cross. I don't think it was no foul play. Personally.
Yeah.
Hopefully. All right. So in our group chat this week, got a little reckless. If anybody knows, man, Pop the Balloon. We had an individual come on that was talking a little reckless, man, asking a couple of questions. I'm gonna play a clip that we sent amongst each other. We're gonna kind of talk about what happened here.
Social media agent, yeah.
Okay, social media?
Social media agent, yes.
Okay, how many kids you have?
I have 2.
How many baby daddies?
2.
2? Okay. So you didn't think after the first one that you wanted to marry the next one?
No.
No? Okay. I was just asking because for real men, that's what matters. Mm-hmm. Your first one is given. Your second one, the mistake is on you.
Oh, is it? Well, there's
that's definitely right.
Under why I got
that's
pregnant.
That's definitely right.
That's nor here or there, and that's not what I'm here for.
Okay, definitely. You're a beautiful woman, though.
Thank you.
But I respect your answer.
Man, oh, man. Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not speaking first. So I'm going to throw this one to Jay. First, bro. Where do you feel like he violated? How was he out of pocket? If he didn't, do you feel like he even violated? What's your thoughts on what my man just came to her and said and about the kids and X, Y, and Z?
I think he violated in a couple areas with the snakeskin belt. That was a violation on the dress code. Mm-hmm. He violated his goddamn self. Second, like, okay, I get like, hey, you have a baby daddy. Why didn't you? I feel like people trying to dig into that Kevin Samuels bag of like, well, why didn't you marry the first baby daddy or whatever? Okay, life happens, circumstances happen. We're here on a speed dating site, right? This is a show of Pop the Balloon. You're trying to dig super deep on some shit that doesn't matter right now at the moment. That's something that asked her outside of that. And the last thing is, I think he violated with I think a lot of these guys out here really feel like that the definition of high value is just based off of income. And they're not understanding what it means to be a high value man. So it's like, well, do you think I'm going to want that versus a woman with no kids? Well, you wouldn't be on this dating app getting balloons popped if you were so high value. You wouldn't be sitting here getting these. So you're not value as you think. So I think that a lot of these guys and women need to be humbled again and understand this is just a regular dating site. You're here this is popped off attraction, all of these things, and understand what it is. You're taking it too deep. That was out of pocket.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, I know, bro. I'm gonna go. So I'm Princess. What's your thoughts? I think I know where Lou's going, and I can't wait for it.
So personally, I agree with everything that you said, Jay. Personally, I think there was nothing wrong with him asking how many kids or how many baby daddies. those are fair questions. To me, it was him taking it upon himself to try to ask additional questions and make her feel, uncomfortable or feel a certain way about the decisions that she has made in her life. I don't feel like also it was the aggression. Like, I don't know if y'all have watched the entire episode, but I did. But he not only did it to that woman, he went down the line of like all the women who popped the balloon on him and did the same thing. And like pretty much all of them had kids. And it was his body language. I watched the way like his fist was kind of clenching up. I was like, yeah, he hit women more than likely. Like, no jokes. I pay attention to stuff like that. And
I think that's a fair assumption, bro. I'm not gonna cap.
I didn't see that.
I did. I don't like when men talk to women in a certain level of aggression that I know I can tell that type of man, I can sniff them out. You wouldn't keep that same energy if it was another dude standing in front of you. So I just didn't like how he tried to like run down the line and son all of them. That really, really pissed me off.
For sure. So Brittany said really quickly, calling at the child a mistake as well. I felt like, I don't know if he called the child a mistake. I felt like he was talking about the second person. I do think that's absolutely wild. Don't get me wrong. But so this is my thing, man. Golly. And it got to be a night where we super popping tonight, right? I got a question for you ladies. Not that woman, not that thing. Was it fair? Was his logic behind what he was trying to say about making a mistake the first time and then doing something the second time? And I get it gets touch and feely with kids, because I felt like he was just saying a vetting process. Let me acknowledge that things happen. Hopefully nobody is just having kids without actually doing the vetting process, dating or whatever the case may be. Was the logic bad or was it the delivery? I'm asking a question.
I think it was more so the delivery, and it wasn't his place to have that conversation with her. He does not know that woman.
For sure. 110%. Lewis, man, what's your thoughts, bro?
My wife and I were watching that one live together. I don't want to dismiss what Princess said, you know what I mean? Because that's not something that I've known or I look for. But what I found to be interesting, and I got frustrated with it, is because he assumed that multiple women had multiple baby fathers, and they did. Right? He was assumptive in his questioning, and he was right every time about them having multiple baby fathers. Right? And then when he got to the one where the girls start popping, all the rest of the girls start popping their balloons, because he was right again. And if it was an environment that I was in, I'd be frustrated, because I'm like, I'm probably running into this ish all the time. And when homegirl got defensive, right, then he started probing, and he was like, listen, typically, if that's not something that you want to be, you wouldn't put yourself in position for that to continuously happen. The best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. And it appeared to me that neither of those women that he was talking to wanted to take accountability for having multiple baby fathers. So my bro Jay, I respect 100%, 110% what you were saying, but to this point, I think as a single man, if you are not out here sowing seeds, if you're not out here sowing seeds with multiple women, it's okay for you to have a certain standard to not want to be with a woman who has given birth to multiple children by different men. Especially if you did it one time and your goal is to get married. Why would you continuously put yourself in a situation, or repetitively put yourself in a situation, to where you are now a multiple childbearing mom to different dudes? To me, it's okay to have a standard of that.
I think, I think that was great. Let me just add a quick thing, though. I think what we're taking out of this dating scene is that context. You have a lot of people with manipulation. You have a lot of people that are showing up in relationships that are not their true self. So let's say that second baby daddy was, you have people, when you talk, you pillow talk, they may be saying, okay, I know this is what you want, and then it doesn't happen. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't have learned from the past, I'm just saying that he does have a preference. I agree with him. Okay, I don't want to date no woman with 3, 4 baby daddy. I'm dissing that. I ain't tripping on that. But the way that it was delivered in that moment and in that environment, I don't think that was a conversation at that moment.
But it is because you got multiple people. This is a random group of women who are all in a very similar scenario. And that's why I'm frustrated with it. I was mad that he was assumptive. I was defensive in part of the women initially, right? But then he kept assuming that they all had kids with multiple men, and they did.
But Louis,
so how are you guys upset with him by creating that accountability? Hold on, my bad, bro. I'm just saying this is where I got frustrated. It was embarrassing for me to see that. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I was like, man, he wrong for assuming that that's the case, but he was right.
He was,
but
right.
Then they all getting defended about it. But he's right. You proving his point.
He was right, Louis. But let me ask you a question though. To me, it would have made more sense if he was arguing with the women that still had their balloon. They already popped already, so the interest wasn't even there for him anyway. If somebody that still had their balloon and he was arguing that, then he said that and you got multiple, and then he popped their balloon. To me, it will make more sense. They already popped their balloon.
You're saying it in the sense of the actual show. I'm speaking on just visual. Like, you got 20 women in a room, and half of y'all got multiple baby fathers.
Right.
I'm like, it's embarrassing. Like, this dude is the way he was assumptive in his questioning, and he was right. And I was upset that he was right that much.
Got you.
Like, that to me that bothered me.
I see what you're saying.
And I understand what you're saying, Louis. However, but I don't think that those women owed him any accountability. That was my issue with it. Like, I think, like I said, he had every right to say, anybody, everybody, a lot of people go up there and say, anybody have kids? How many kids do you have? How many baby daddies? But in the context of the conversation should have ended there, because who are you to stand there and continue to question me and try to make me feel some type of way? For one, my balloon is already popped on you, but you got the answers. So why are you antagonizing me at this point? And I think the reason why more women continue to pop their balloon, it was because of exactly what he was doing, and also the tone that came with that. Because if you're a woman, whether I have 5 baby daddies, who are you to sit here and question me about my decisions on this show? I gave you the answer. I was truthful, but you're not going to make me feel less than for my decisions when you came on this dating show. Like, this isn't the time or the place, and I don't owe you anything. So that's really the reason why I feel like multiple women continue to pop their balloons on him. He was definitely given like little man syndrome. It was like he gave a tantrum because those women popped the balloon on him, and then they gave him a little bit of ammo, and then he ran with it.
All right, so we got a couple of comments. Brittany said he intentionally tried to belittle the women. Have your preference, that's fine, but don't try to check me. TF. I won't say what it means. From DJ Marcusell, if you ain't planning to have that baby, it's a mistake. A spade is a spade. He ain't need to speak on it because he wasn't planning on being around anyway.
Thanks.
I don't know if he dug enough to say they didn't give enough context to their second child's father to know if there's mistakes or not. This is what I will say, and I don't know how popular or unpopular this may be, but I'll say this. I don't know how, like Jay was talking earlier about how like dudes pillow talk, they be all in your ear, like woo, 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 blah, blah, blah. I am not placing blame. I'm talking about a general scenario. I feel like if you don't see something with this person, and women are the only ones that could carry children. You know what I'm saying? You got to protect yourself if you feel like it's not going there. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether he's spitting the game, doing what he do, ooh, love, woo, woo, protect yourself. This is no way for him blaming what they were saying as far as mistakes and stuff like that. I'm not getting into that. Because fortunately, like, women carry the babies. He can say whatever he want to say, but you got to protect yourself in that instance, because I do think that things happen. However, like, you would need more context to this second baby daddy situation, third baby daddy situation. I don't think it's fair to judge a woman because she has multiple. If you get a little context around what happens, then you can make a fair judgment call, which I feel like that's
what do you judge her on?
I mean, this is the thing. If I'm interested, I'm gonna ask a little more questions, right? Like because.
But you judge people based on what though?
The way they look. Anybody get me caught up in the game?
And you judge people on the decisions that they make.
That's true.
But why did so
can
what
I
about?
Can I
Yeah,
just
go ahead.
Real quick. Couple things here. The first thing is that what I was not happy with is the fact that he took it upon himself to educate women, but he did not take it upon himself to do it in a way that they could receive it anyway. So if the point that he was trying to make is like, hey y'all, as Black women, let's try to make better decisions, it was never going to be received by them because of how he said it. So
they wouldn't have received that.
If he decided to do what he did, I mean, because he did it, right? You then have to say, what was his intent? Because from what I heard, he was in his feelings because of what Lewis is saying. His frustration was from the same frustration. I hear that. But then it's like, okay, was it just to express your frustration or was it to educate? Because he did not do it in a way that it was going to be received. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I wish that he would have then asked different questions because, and I'm going to say like this, out of however many women that were there that had multiple children, right? Multiple baby fathers or whatever. And I did not see the whole thing. So I'm not sure y'all, but there's so much context that plays a role. So for instance, what if for her, she had a child when she was 15 years old? She's now 30. She then did wait, right? She then did meet somebody or whatever the case may be. And I literally have a client that like the plan was, she was like, I don't even want this child, right? I don't think that it's a good idea to have another child, all the things. This person, right, cried all the things, said all the things. And do you know why she's with me? Because of the decision that she made, because another person, right, made her feel guilty for not wanting to have their child, right? And so I do think that there is other context that should have been explored if his whole purpose was, right? Because he could be frustrated. I get it. It makes a lot of sense, right? Like, for instance, I would be just as irritated if I was on the other end of it and every dude that's up there told me that they have 3 children and 3 baby moms. I would also be very extremely frustrated. I would, but I would not sit there and then chastise this one person in the way that I did, because in my mind, he's not hearing what I'm saying at all. So I think if you're going to educate somebody, you should do it in a way that they receive it. Why
I disagree.
Why did he have to?
I don't think you could tell Black women anything like that when it comes to that. I think Black women are so defensive when you give them accountability around something like that. But us as Black men, no, he didn't. I agree with you on that. And I don't think his intention was to educate. But what I'm saying is, the minute that you start to give them accountability, in my experiences about something like that, and people in general don't like being accountable, so I'm not going to generalize it. I'm going to generalize it for a moment, but I'm going to take it back specifically to Black women. And here's the thing that I really like that Kevin Samuels used to do. He used to create that accountability, and he did it with the right intentions, and people started to receive it, right? But it just frustrates me how maybe he wasn't the right representative of it, but it alluded to a bigger issue or an issue in our community. And I hate to say it. No, I don't hate to say it. In your scenario that you gave with someone that you're talking with, it's still their choice, right? Someone made them feel a certain way and they made a decision. They made a poor decision.
Right.
So it's still that accountability is still on them. So I don't think, and I think that really alludes to a bigger issue. Having a child takes an act, and it takes a conscious act for a child to be born. So as much what's the word I'm looking for? As much grace or leniency we may want to project on this issue, there's a bigger issue at hand. And I think that just as and we talked about this a few months ago about giving grace to Black men and all this other stuff. But when we talk about with Black women having multiple babies by multiple guys, it's a real sensitive issue at that point. I feel like I think that's unfair. I feel like as a black man, I can't call black women out on stuff like that. But I feel like as a black man, black women call us out on stuff all the time. And I'm not talking to y'all, you know, to you ladies on the pod, but I'm saying in general, that's how I feel. That's my experience.
Well, yeah, I don't have kids, so, but I do think like, but in what ways, right? Because, and I think it goes back to, because you said you didn't want to generalize, but you started to, right?
I did,
yeah. So thinking about, because the way of like holding, like in that context, right? And I mean, just thinking about that show, not the larger issue, because I do agree with you, right? I genuinely do with what you're talking about in the larger community. But when we think about that particular show, that man, I do not think that was the right place for him to start chastising her without having the context. Because for me, because even when she said there's more to it and all the things, in my mind, what happens if she there was harm done to her, right? Then led her to have this child, right? Like I'm thinking of like all the context that he did not ask before having the conversation. My thing is, at any point, if you're going to have a conversation where you want to be heard, you have to understand the full scope of the thing. People are not a monolith. Out of all those women that popped the balloon, that have multiple children and all the things, I guarantee you all their stories are not the same. They're just not.
But the monolith would be, but then they kind of are, because they all had the same scenario.
So if
Lewis is not letting up, boy.
Like this,
I'm not, because I hate that shit, man.
And that's fine, but once again, you still have to look at their whole story. So if you're telling me that one person was being physically harmed and then was made to have a child, or whatever the case may be, another person was told that they could not have a child, and then they had IUD, and then they all of a sudden got pregnant, all the things, they found out too far along, and then another person, they got married, or whatever the case may be, their partner actually passed away. These are other things. This is what I'm saying. That part is not a monolith. Their stories is not. So the result, sure, but you cannot then chastise everybody the same way without knowing their stories. And they've lived it. It's not like they don't know. They literally live it.
So I'll say this, where I feel like I do agree with the story, having the story aspect of it. Appreciate everybody tapping in with us right now, man. Hope y'all enjoying the show, man. Click that like button for the Monday Night Crew, man. We record every other Monday. Appreciate y'all. So what I would say, Asia, is I do believe that the stories matter, right? In a sense of accountability. Like, so if you had a child young, you waited, you had another child, then that person passed away, that 2 for 2 looks very different than if you out here spraying and praying. Absolute respect. But I will say, I do think there is a hard conversation to have around accountability of decisions that's clearly made by one party. You know what I'm saying? I do agree with you. And I think but I think the thing that separates this is the context, the show, and the environment in which he tried to go do that without having those things. But but in reality, I'll also say this. Jay made this point earlier. He has a right, being that he only has one child and one baby mama, to expect that from somebody else. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's all the plus stuff that he said that made it bad.
And I think that we're taking it like what Lewis is saying. If you look at it from a broad spectrum, I 110% agree with what he's saying. This is something that's going on in our community, something that's not talked about a lot and is frowned upon, but also based off the concept of the show. If we get back to what it is, just generalize it to popping the balloon, right? Mm-hmm. Having that conversation after her balloon was already popped doesn't make sense to me, because she's already showing that she's not interested in you. They just asked why you popped the balloon. And said, hey, I popped because I didn't like what he wore, whatever the case may be. It's very generic. You know, it's very simple. I didn't like his shirt. I didn't like his attitude. Then you get to the point of like, okay, well, is this a match for you? I think we dug too deep into it. It's just a pop the balloon show.
But he's saying, you don't like my shirt, but you got 2 kids by 2 different men. But you popping my balloon over my shirt. Shows you a bad decision maker.
Lewis is committed tonight, boy.
What?
I'm gonna be real.
He has every right to do that. It's just the fact that after I say that, let's be grown about it and move the fuck on. Like, You're not gonna be in my face going back and forth asking me questions when I already popped the balloon on you. Like, that's just it. There's no grounds for further questioning. Like, this is not an interrogation room. That's just how I feel about it.
But well, in fairness, they ask people why they popped the balloon, and then they engage in conversation at that point. So, but
you guys, I mean,
it's so much
to interrogate me.
But before
after that,
Lewis, before they engage in conversation, she does say, the host says, "What? Why did you pop your balloon?" She says, "I didn't like his haircut," whatever, right? Then the host goes back to this person and says, "Would this be somebody that you would date?" They don't ask you to ask them questions. The only people that ask questions is the people that still holding their balloon. So you took it upon yourself.
Bro got offended that she popped though. That's why he started.
That's what I was about to say. It was the offensiveness for her popping that made him generate all those questions.
Right. I just wish he wouldn't have been. I just wish he wouldn't have been right so many times. That's just me. Okay. That's where my frustration, my passions come from. And I'll say underlying undertone. I feel like black men can't call out black women who have multiple baby fathers. I feel like that's an unspoken thing you can't critique. And they don't. And anytime they're confronted, I'm gonna say anytime. And most often when they're confronted, they get defensive about it. That's just been my experience. That's what I've seen.
All right. So, hey man,
I'm standing on that.
Boy, y'all got a different Louis B tonight. Boy, that joker was.
I'm standing on that shit. Y'all know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right. That's why you laughing. You know?
That whole scenario, like all that is beyond me. I think the way that he came across to those women, y'all already know how I feel about stuff like that. So like that was just a no-go.
Yeah.
For me. And I feel like that's not being talked about enough. I feel like rejection is a part of dating. And if you can't handle it, you shouldn't have been on the show. I wholeheartedly believe, like, even if he didn't want a woman with multiple baby daddies, multiple kids, or whatever, the aggression that came off of him came from the fact that she popped that balloon. And that is not okay for me. I don't think the level of aggression that he spoke to those women in and the way he was trying to belittle them in his tone, that for me just was not appreciated.
For sure.
And can I just say one last thing? I promise it's the last thing.
Go ahead. I love it. I love it.
And this is really on the topic of accountability with whomever, right? There has to be, and I mean has to be, a level of trust. On it doesn't matter what side, whether it's a woman talking to a man talking to a woman, right? For it to be received. The reason why I'm saying that is because there's so many people that have malicious intent, and they're not telling you things for your own good. A lot of people do say things to manipulate you, to then just get you to be vulnerable and all the things, and then you close right back up. So even when it comes down to, because Louis, to your point, right? Let's say you have somebody that you consider like a sister to you, right? And they have made the decisions. You do know the story. If you come to them out of love and out of concern, right? Because you do know what, she potentially wants in the future and all those things. Depending on how you come to her, she will receive it different than if you see a random shorty on the street, and then you try to have that same conversation with her. It is very different because the relationship and the trust is not there. I'm not going to trust you with any part of me. It's like, who are you to hold me accountable? There's nothing there. I don't know you enough to do that. But if I have a relationship with you and I feel safe with you, yes, I'm going to hear you because I know that you're not coming for me with malicious intent. There's too many, and this comes with black men, black women. We have so much distrust between us, period, that we cannot jump from dismissing that part of it to, we just have to hold each other accountable. We need to rebuild that trust, that level. That's why I do love this podcast so much, because I feel like that's what we do. How many times, Louis, have you said that you've learned so much from us? And how many times have I said, man, I've learned so much about myself from y'all? Because that trust is there. That relationship is there. People could have told me that years ago before. I'm not receiving it. I don't trust them enough to. But with this is different, right? So it's about building that trust.
For sure.
Louis said stop making.
Hey, I feel like it was a fire conversation that needed to be had. I think it was valid. For real. Hey, salute on that.
Hey,
so say again, Jay.
I said great points, Louis, AJ, everybody, great points.
For sure. All right, man, it's time for our topics of the night. So Asia and I are the vibe curators of the topics of the night. I'm gonna pass it over to my partner to get us started, man. Asia, let them know a little something.
All right. And I actually thought about this. This lines up with the movie, and I actually didn't mean for it to. I put this question together beforehand, but anyways. So I saw a post, right, that said, why do people not make it? And someone responded to the post and basically said, it's because people raised on love and survival see the world differently. So for y'all, does this mean that how you were raised determines your level of success in a relationship with someone who wasn't raised that same way?
Hey, partner.
That's a good one.
Yes,
Making us think deep.
Okay.
That's a good one.
I'll start. I'm gonna calm down. I'm gonna bring the nerves down. I'm gonna bring the nerves down.
All right.
Bring the mood. I'm gonna bring the mood up. Bring the nerves down. All right. I think that it certainly influences it. Speaking personally, being vulnerable. Okay. I went because I wanted my relationship to work, even though I didn't have the model. I did the work to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So I think it depends on how much you want it to be successful and how individually or you both want it to work. And they'll, even if you didn't have that essential model to see how maybe successful relationships are, you'll do the work to figure it out.
Oh, that's great. I like that.
That's good.
Jay,
what do you think?
Oh, go ahead.
Huh? No, I said Jay.
No, she asked you, Jay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback up what Lewis was saying, I agree with that 100%. But I think that the big thing for me is, number one, making sure that you guys are on the same accord as far as like, what do you want? Like, what does that look like? And I think, to add to your point, Lewis, is that we don't know. Success for everybody's relationship is different. You know what I'm saying? So as long as you and your partner are on the same course, it doesn't matter, because we don't necessarily have a model of what that looks like. You know, some people may have a successful marriage that we think, and then we look at it and then it's like, damn, they really going through it, they're doing whatever. So I think it's more important for me and my partner to understand whatever course we're going to be on, that we both say, hey, okay, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to like put everything into a blood, sweat, and tears to get to this end goal. Whatever that looks like for us, not what somebody says that we need to look like, not what somebody says that this is what success looks like, but what do we want?
So
that's real good.
Fire.
Asia, can you repeat how you worded the question?
I sure can. So, okay. So, does it mean that how you were raised determines your level of success in a relationship with someone who wasn't raised that same way?
That's my dog.
That's a good ass question.
I think it does to a certain extent, but to Lewis's point, like, you definitely have to work at it. Like, I think about people mainly who were raised off of survival. They don't function in life in general the way that, you know, people who were not raised in survival. So when you partner up with someone and, you know, you're trying to build a life or you're trying to build a family, you really have to understand someone who was raised from a level of survival, why they operate the way that they do. Sometimes it's helpful in a relationship because you may have another person that's just kind of all willy-nilly and just, you know, like whatever. So the person that was raised in survival may reel you back in. So you guys kind of learn from each other, but you just really have to be intentional about understanding each other.
All right. So fire. So I'm gonna go a little, you know what I'm saying? I think I'm gonna kind of split it down the middle, right? I think my mom was in survival mode raising us, but she raised us with love, right? So I think the thing is that people in survival mode usually trauma bond. And when you meet somebody that's both in survival mode or survival, it's like a trauma bond. I'm not trying to be funny. You know, people think of the worst parts of trauma. Nah, you ain't really, it's just they trauma bond off that. I think it absolutely is necessary in order to be successful. And I'll tell you why. In my experience, you need both sides of that. You need both sides of that in a relationship. You need somebody that can teach you how to love, and you need somebody that can teach you how to survive. I don't care if it's the woman or the male. You absolutely need that, because 9 out of 10, That's 9 out of 10 is aggressive. 7 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10, if you get a partner, and I'm not saying it can't work, but if you get a partner from the same type of upbringing, let me clarify this. Survival, there's levels of survival. So if you get a partner from your same upbringing, 9 times out of 10, you have a hard time exposing your future, say your children, whatever, to that other side of what life looked like. You have no ties to that, and you need that. You understand what I'm saying? So, like in my situation, my wife was raised in love. I was raised in love, but we had survival. We ain't know we was surviving. We ain't know we was being raised like that. So later, when we was like, damn, we was broke like that, it allows me to tap into both sides. You know what I'm saying? I'm a younger sibling in the far as how I was raised. So I'm pretty sure my older brother's level of feeling like survival and mine is 2 different things. Yeah, we had lights, water, you know what I mean? My mom, I could call my mom when I needed her. She was around. So to me, I was raised in love, right? When I hit about 22 and I got married and them bills starting to hit, I was like, oh shit, this survival, bro. This ain't love. This survival. And Asia, I really love the question because I think people need to stop putting a negative connotation to being raised in survival. Everybody's story not the same. But one point that a lot of people made is you have to accept or identify how you were raised before you move on with your partner. Like, you got to acknowledge those things. Like, hey, I come from this. Music Social said it best. Teach me how to love, bro. If you want me to be like that, teach me how to do it.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think for me, like, I got to see actually what you said, Kenan. Like, so my dad, for instance, he was raised in survival. And everything was survival, but there's still so much love in the family, right? But his understanding of love was this idea of survival, right? And so even the way that he viewed love was in a survival context. My mom, she was raised in love. She didn't even know the survival part of it, because she was raised by her grandparents, right? So there was a whole survival going on outside of her that she didn't even understand until later on. But I even think about like for breakfast, my mom would make it was my mom's turn to cook. She making steak and eggs. That was her thing, you know.
Okay, Mom.
Breakfast. Okay, cool. My dad, Vienna sausages, sardines. And,
oh yeah, you was raised off survival then.
That's survival breakfast.
Yeah, but for me, and what I love about it is for me, so I could easily, when I was eating meat, I could easily either have steak and eggs or sardine and grits. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, I got the best of both worlds, and I'm comfortable either way. You know what I'm saying? I used to say I'm first generation out the hood, and so for me, but being able to have that experience for real, it is meaningful. But I think to all of your points, like, I think it's just about knowing yourself and being real about that. Like, it's like being real about what you don't know. So if all you know is the lovey-dovey, you don't really know struggle in any capacity, it's okay. Like, it does not make you any less Black. It does not make you, because a lot of people feel that way sometimes, right? My little brother used to get so mad, like, Dad, why couldn't you just leave us in the hood? You know? And it's true, because my brother had a different experience because he doesn't remember certain things the way that I do. And so, Kenan, to your point, so yeah, so I think it's definitely it's necessary to know. I think success can happen as long as y'all are honest about where you are and where you really want to go.
Can I say one thing? In love for my people, I'm trying to educate some people.
Oh, so I'm God. Hey, y'all got Lewis on 10 tonight.
I was a survival element in my relationship. And I used to say to my wife, I used to say to my wife, that's love right there. Love you, baby. What I used to say was that, hey, I need to show you reality. This is reality. What you did was not but both are reality. Yeah. A loving environment is also reality. And I think that's survival side. I used to use that as leverage, or try to create that as leverage for a perspective on life. But that was just mine, right? Though a lot of people I knew come from it, a lot of good things come from that, a lot of good qualities come from it, overcoming and things like that. But a loving environment is just as much of a reality as that survival environment. So it doesn't make anyone any better. You need both. And my goal is to create that loving environment for my children, because that's a reality too.
Yeah.
For sure. And truth be told, kids gonna go through moments where they think they in survival mode anyway.
Oh,
they gonna think they surviving something anyway, and it ain't even like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean. But yeah, all right. So the next question of tonight, man. So we always our esteemed panel. We're all, you know how we are. We've got all these things in life, but we're gonna go down memory lane tonight. What Asia and I would like to know is, how did your first breakup shape you? Like, we don't want the middle school one. We don't want the little beginning of high school. Which one of your breakups on your way to who you are now? How did it shape you? If you care to share, how did it happen? And like, really, what did you learn from it? And I think it's important because a lot of times we get the versions of people that are like already created, right? Like, we don't know why we approach situations the same, like different ways, or why this person is like that. So how did your first breakup shape you? And I'm going to throw it to Louis been a little aggressive, but I'm gonna go to Princess. I'm gonna go to Louis need a break.
I'm trying to think about which one I want to consider my first, but I'm gonna go with my gut. So the first one, I feel like it shaped me because it was a lot of different experiences. I was exposed to a lot at an early age. I learned a lot about myself because I moved across the country. So knowing how to function like without everything that I knew in my family and everything, I felt like it shaped me to be, not so dependent on them. But as far as I guess, what is it? What did I learn from it? Is that what it is?
How did it shape you? Was there anything out of that relationship did you learn some non-negotiables from that relationship? Was it some things that you learned from that? You was like, oh no, I'm never doing that again. Or as much as you want to share or don't want to share, but like, is there anything that maybe like that caused you to have the standards or expectations you have now?
Oh yeah. So I learned that I'm not moving for another man again unless he's my fiance or my husband. So that is now, like obviously a standard. And I think that's pretty much the major one.
Okay. All right. Jay, we're gonna go to you next, Brody. How did it shape you?
It helped me learn healthy boundaries, and understanding myself as far as what I was looking for out of a situation. It made me kind of sit back and examine myself, of realizing that I was very codependent. I had a lot of different issues that I didn't work out that I needed to go to therapy for. And it made me realize that I did have a lot of great qualities too that I was psyching myself out of to try to conform to, because it's like when you go through a major breakup, you start to think of everything like, oh, I need to change this. And it's like you have a lot of good qualities that you don't need to change. You maybe need to tweak a little bit. That doesn't make you perfect or anything like that. It just helped me decipher between what I needed to change, what I did, or what I needed to improve, and how to move forward with setting a healthy boundary.
Fire. Louis B.
The great Lil Wayne once said,
hey, I love this thing, Louis.
you all about her, and she all about hers.
Damn.
So,
yeah, she was getting you both.
We both had something in common. We loved her too much. What it was
get out of here, bro.
What it was.
Y'all ain't met Louis B. This Louis
really
B right here.
I learned that you have to love you really got to love yourself, man. You really have to love yourself to be able to create boundaries. Like Princess alluded to, by not moving, hey, I'm not going to give this much of myself until someone's made that much of a commitment. To Jay's point, I got to be able to establish boundaries, to be able to go and do things the way that I'm willing to do them, right? And I got to see myself as a catch and as a prize. And I used to lean so heavily and pour so heavily into the person that I was with. And when I was with someone who cared about themselves, right, I used to think it was selfish, but it wasn't. right? That once I got older, I realized it wasn't. That's how you're supposed to approach relationships. You're supposed to love yourself. You're supposed to prioritize yourself, right? And I never looked at myself as a priority. So I think from that real first breakup, I started to understand that it's not selfishness to put yourself first. It's necessary in order for you to be your best until you're able to make a full-on commitment.
Very good. Very good.
All right, partner. What about you? How it shape you?
That first breakup, that is first heartbreak rather. I feel like that's such a humbling experience for real. You always remember your first heartbreak. That's when I was not eating, I was not sleeping. I was really going through it for real. And it's because you don't know how to, at least for me, I didn't know how to handle that. Because for me, it was one of those, I thought it was going to last forever. It was my first time realizing it wasn't going to last forever. And I could not fathom that it was really over. And so for me, it just changed it changed my whole idea of love, to be honest. When it first happened, it was oh, well, love is fake and it's flawed and it was supposed to last forever and it's not. So I feel like I'm bamboozled. I really thought it was the end of the world. I love that y'all were able to gain so much wisdom and all the things from it. It took me a long, long, long time, really to understand it's going to be okay. And to realize that there were parts that I played in it too, right? So just speaking on accountability, I want so badly for them to be the bad person, but the truth is that I contributed to that, in different ways. And so that's what's so humbling about it. It's because you think that you do everything right. And for me, I went through phases of I'm so mad, I did everything wrong, or they did everything wrong, to oh, it was never going to work. it was always temporary, and then being able to just kind of grow and navigate from there. But I think it made heartbreaks after that a little bit easier. But that first one, I feel is so memorable.
Yeah, for sure. Oh God, I hate talking about this. But if you know me, you know why he said it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going. I ain't gonna cap, bro. Mine was real. So there's two things. The major two things I learned. I learned, back to the conversation of survival, I learned I ain't want to be with a motherfucker that's too deep in survival mode. That's the first thing I learned. I'm willing to do it with some, but not all. The second thing I learned was bro, I when I met my wife now, the first thing I told her after the break was hey, bro, I'm telling you right now, I'll never be miserable again. When I start to feel that way, I'm out. Because and I'm gonna tell you, when we broke up, I was on some. Y'all remember that song? You and I don't want you back. I was all in my bag and hey, we'll talk about none of that over there. I mean, I'm telling you, it don't mean shit now. The whole thing, boy. I was going in. But the thing was, it was one of those situations, and I've never said this transparently. I sacrificed a lot with my high school basketball to be in that relationship. And me not knowing it at the time, but seeing it when I did it, I didn't know I did. But lately, when I was able to reflect, I was like, damn, that's what caused so much. I don't want to say hatred, but resentment. I'm like, how far should I go? I'm like, man, I could have been getting ass. I could have been doing all these things. I could have definitely been in school playing somewhere. But I was so committed to this because me believing that when you love someone, when you give them your word, you stick through it. Even though I was young, that was my belief system. So when we broke up and I got to A&T, I'm like, oh, I done did all this and I could have been doing this. And it made me realize dog, I can't be miserable. I can't be miserable for nobody. And I'm a type of person, when I love you, I'm going to put you first. And that's when I learned that motherfucker will not put you first no matter how much you love them. Instinct, the survival of the fittest says take care of yourself first. So when shit hit the fan, they gonna go inward and take care of themselves. But I learned though, you ain't gotta worry about that.
Man, you had the same experience, my brother.
Yeah, man. Then that's what I'm saying, bro. Then it was never mind.
Man, don't it make you mad? You man, I could have did this, and I wasted, man.
Bro, let me tell you, bro. I ain't gonna never forget what made me mad, bro. I don't care. This is my life, so I can say it. I ain't gonna lie, bro. This is what got me. This is when I knew. So me and my older brother, I was at A&T. I was on the way back. For my birthday, October 3rd, 2009. Boy, y'all got me.
Not the date.
I'm gonna tell you why I remember. So I'm at A&T. If anybody know freshman year, Keenan, I'm not gonna say sneak up here. Freshman year sneak. Wednesday through Sunday was a movie. Forget class, forget all that. We out that's when Greensboro party life was crazy. So my brother hit me like, "Hey, bro, what we doing for your birthday? What's the move?" I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm going back to Raleigh to see my girl, man." He was like, "What?" Like, so we going back to Raleigh and we at 8, like we doing this. I'm like, "Yeah, bro, like I ain't knowing that, da da da." So my brother get pissed off at me, like, "You stupid, but I'm gonna go with you because you my brother and I'm gonna celebrate your birthday." So, man, I go back to Raleigh, man. I make all this time, go through class, get back to Raleigh late Friday night. Me and my brother going through it all. We hustling and bustling. We finally get there. Man, this motherfucker get to arguing, man. This motherfucker broke up with me on my birthday.
Oh my God.
Hey, look. So I'm like, hey, look. I'm like, what the fuck? So look, then immediately my mind goes to, damn, I got to get back in the car with my brother. So now we argue, we doing all this, we end up breaking up, you know what I'm saying? And we was already on the rocks. Like, it was already choppy, is why my brother was calling me stupid for going back. So, man, we argue. She's like, you know what? We just need, I ain't gonna never get, I'm like, I'm gonna take, we outside, I'm talking to my brother. She called me, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what? We just need to stop, da da da. So I go in the car with my brother. I never get, this is the best, this is when I realized I was dumb. He cranked the car and was like, and this is what your dumb ass wanted to do. Come on, man. So we drove back to Greensboro that night and got back and parked the car, went straight into a club at like 12:30 at night, bro. And I was like, you know what? You right. And the reason why I knew I was over it, because I got over her in like, I knew it was over. I got over her in like a week or so. I was like, yeah, I don't need that shit. I'm gone.
Shout out to Sneak. That's a great story, man.
It's a true story. Got up out of that. But
mine wasn't that clean.
You said what?
Mine wasn't that clean.
Yeah, we can't. You don't share yours. You can't share yours up here, brother.
I'm not
at all. Please.
Is it the story I'm thinking about?
Yep.
Oh yeah, hell no, hell no. Hey, I'm throwing it back to you. Hell no.
All right, y'all. So this the last one we got. Still on the topic of relationships, all the things. Do people get married / like stay married for happiness, or more so out of like duty and obligation?
You said get or stay married. Is it both?
We'll say like, do they like? Yeah. Either one.
Let's say stay, Asia. Let's say stay. Let's say stay.
We saying stay. My part says stay. So stay.
Yeah.
Married.
I think I'll take this.
Dog.
I think that maybe, to me, my experiences, I think back in the day, it was more so of like a duty, honor of like I'm going to stick with you because this is what I signed up for type of deal. Now it's more based off emotion. It's like whenever that feeling goes, it's like we don't know how to operate outside of that feeling of saying like, okay, like I think that's why cheating is so crazy right now, because it's like, yeah, well, you ask somebody, why did you? Well, I just feel like I'm not in love with that person no more, right? Like love is a feeling. Like you're not gonna wake up every day and be in love with that person. Like, but for me, if you are rooted and based in principles and duty, you're not gonna do that, because it's more so the bigger picture of I don't care how I feel right now. This is what I signed up for. So I think that if you find a partner like that, I think it will last. But what I'm seeing out here, nah. My experience, not nobody else's. My experience.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Princess. What you think?
I agree with what Jay said. I also feel like oftentimes people stay based off of duty if there are kids involved. Like present day, I feel like people are more likely to stay if kids are involved. If not, people are getting married and then divorced within a year. Like we're seeing that more and more frequently, because it's like soon as like, yeah, I don't feel like I love them no more. Like I'm not in love anymore. People be out the door now. Like that duty is out the window, especially when kids are not involved.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Louis V, what you think?
What you call me? I think sometimes.
Yeah.
So since I've been married for 12 years now,
Salute.
and I think it varies. It changes. We get married for happiness. We love each other, but but I think it's a commitment. I think it's a duty, and here's why. AJ, you go to the gym. You're not happy every day you go to the gym, but you committed. It's a discipline. You go because you know the long-term effects of what the results of that gym will give you. Right. I think the same thing applies or is applicable to a relationship and to marriage, because when you make those vows, it is a commitment, right? For all those things that those vows mention, right? Because it's going to be all of those things that those vows mention: sickness and health, richer or poor, right? All those things. So, and then I take a step back, and I got to share this, man. I feel like every time I go to a bar by myself, I meet a man who's lost their wife. I don't know why, but every time I go to a bar, I meet a man that's lost their wife. They're always like in their 50s or 60s. And I talk to them, and they always describe to me the pain that they feel. And they've been married to this person for long, and they describe the pain that they feel from losing their wife. But they talk about their journey, right? And I see them now. And I think that we have to look at that. We can't look, like Jay alluded to, the previous generations looking at marriage. It's not a bad thing to stay with somebody. Now, if you're in an abusive relationship, right, or if it's no longer serving you, then I totally understand and would agree with doing whatever you need to do to protect yourself. But it's not always going to be, if you're married for happiness, that's the wrong reason to get married. Because you're not going to always be happy. It's not going to be easy. My marriage in the short 12 years we've been together has shifted and been a bunch of different things, right? And I know it's going to change to be a bunch of different things as we stay together. So I think it's more so a commitment, and I think you should get married with the intent of it being a true commitment to that person.
Yeah, so I'm salute, bro. I agree with all that. I'm gonna say this, man. So I'm like Lewis, man. I've been with my wife 14 years, married for 11 in November. I always say this to y'all. I know y'all say I come from the positive. I get it, but there is a level of I like the fact that I kind of got ignorance was bliss when I got married. Like, I think it allowed me to operate fully in my marriage because I ain't have nothing. I wasn't trying to see what this person was going on. I think in this day and age, love is a part of it, but I think people ain't asking the right questions before they get married, bro. Like, people get like, oh, they checked off boxes 1, 2, and 3, but you need to still ask 4 through 10 to make sure that they match that secondary layer of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I can't remember if it was if it's at a podcast party or on a show, and we talked about like how important is somebody's family dynamics, right? But like, I didn't realize how much of that stuff play a factor in my marriage now, whether you like it or not. Like, you need to ask those questions. If somebody say, yeah, I got a sibling I don't talk to, they over there, I ain't gonna say let's unpack that, but let's what's going on right up? How y'all get to this place? Because I think a lot of times, if I don't know, it is my duty, it is my obligation, right? But like, shit, if I can't see why I want to do that anymore, it's gonna dwindle out quick. Because if we had the right conversation, like, I use it like this, man. This is an uncomfortable conversation, right? In my life experiences, me and my wife had to talk earlier about, like, I told my wife straight up, if I pass away, and y'all better hold her to this, if I pass away, hey man, I'm gonna have a whole bunch of people looking at me, burn me up, put a nice little picture up there, y'all say some nice stuff, y'all go party. Listen to what I'm saying, Lewis. I know. But the point I'm making is the conversations about the things that's going to happen regardless of how life goes, you need to talk about. Now, I get that death is extreme, but you need to talk about what it looks like when you want to become parents. You need to talk about if you ever thought about moving away out of this state. You need to talk about like, how do you see, like, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but these things matter. I'm going to give y'all a real life example. Guys and girls trips. At the beginning of my marriage, it could start a forest fire. not because I was doing anything, not because she was doing anything. We never talked about the value of individualism. We never talked about it. How do you remain to be yourself while being married? We never talked about it. So I'm going on these trips with Jade. You know, we yo man, these joints so fun. And she like, damn, why? But and me and Lewis had this conversation last week or 2 weeks ago. You got to remember that you have to be you in order to operate in that marriage fully. So my obligation to you is also an obligation to myself to show up how I need to for you. So when we never talk about what it looked like when I need time, when I'm burnt out, shit, I did it and it caused an argument because she ain't think that was like you in Miami with you know y'all in Miami y'all doing this, that, and the third. No, we had to talk about it. So to answer the question, I know it's long-winded, but to answer the question, bro, you stay because of obligation, but ask the right questions before. I mean, ask the real questions. Like after you get past onion and lovey-dovey, ask the questions that's going to take it to know, like, okay, I like that answer. I like this answer. Have those locked and loaded. My bad. I know I 3 minutes.
I think that's good. I was also gonna say, like, no, I'm not married, so I have no experience. But I do think from a therapeutic lens, though, I think it's important to keep asking those questions, right? Because if we talk about like you being an individual, you are not going to be the same person at age 25 that you are at 35 and 45 and so on. And so like, if you have someone that at first was like, yeah, let's move across the country. Let's like live in tents and yurts. You know what I'm saying? At 25, they might not feel the same way, you know what I'm saying, at 35, 45. But if you don't keep having those same conversations, I do feel like there's a way of getting stuck or only seeing that person for their original answers and not giving them the freedom to know that their answers might change, right? And I think that's the part where it's like you might not always be happy with who your partner is becoming. Like when we think about like middle life crisis and stuff like that, like I always get the vision of like the man like getting his ears pierced for the first time, and he's like 45. He's like, in that moment, I don't think that his wife is like, oh yeah, like that looks amazing. I think it's like, yeah, I don't like you right now. Why did you do that? Yeah. But I would still stay with you, right? So it's kind of like because he's going through a midlife crisis that has nothing to do with her. So I think being able to, I used
to be like that about hair, bro.
Oh, say more.
Man, let me tell you, man. One time, this is a true story. One time, I never get this shit, man. We just moved up, went on a guys trip, messing with J&M, and she had relaxed hair, and it was cool. I'm a hair guy, but I like what you like. I like what you confident in. I go to the trip, and when I come back that Sunday, her shit cut off short and like a short relaxed look. I don't have a problem with you doing whatever you're gonna do. Tell me, like, you don't just show up with a different cut without, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, no lie. And I'm not gonna lie. It's not even a shallow thing. It's really just like, hey, man, like I left here, you was one way. We ain't had women usually do like, hey, what you think about this? What you like this? You think I got the head for this? You think I got like what you? And then I can say, okay, you think about doing something to your head. Man, I went down there with Jay and them having fun, you know what I'm saying? We in Charlotte, I come back, and I'm like, oh shit. Whoa, am I not important enough for you to say, like, hey, I went and did this? And I'm like, yo, but I used to be that way for real though. Like, tell me what you thinking about your next adventure hair-wise. Like, even though you can do it, you a grown-ass woman, I ain't impeding her, but like, let me get myself prepped because people don't talk about this. Your spouse can do something to their head, to their body, wear something that you don't like. And if they don't give you preparation time to be able to stand in it, you can be looking like, what? Like, huh?
That happened to me, man.
What happened?
The hair thing. I said it on Small Talk. I still ain't forgave her.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, hold on. Why you
still
like
holding on to
forgiveness?
I ain't forgave her yet.
Right here.
Hey, but one thing I will say, here's another thing to marriage I don't think people think about. You guys know I had surgery, right, in November. So I had ACL surgery, so I couldn't, for like a few days, my knee was in a cast. I had to go to the bathroom. You know, there's certain things I had to do. I still had to function, and my wife had to help me. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? You don't think about that stuff when you pick your partner. I mean, you got to smile and laugh, but you got to think about that. Who's going to be there with you when you need help? Like, you know what I mean? In that capacity that you never thought about before. You get what I'm saying? That's your partner. Like she's become so many different things like throughout our marriage that I never even would have considered in my ignorance in my youth. She's become so many different things. So when I think about long term, as a partner, as a mother, as a wife, as eventually as a grandmother, right? Like, you know, all these things that I will eventually become, like, you got to think about that. And I think sometimes we get caught up on happiness. I talk to people at age 25, they get married because they think it's the thing everybody's supposed to do, or they get married because they have kids. When you get married at 30, you think you get married because it's something you're supposed to do. You want to catch up with your friends. When you get married at 50, 60, you just want companionship, right? There's just so many reasons why people make that commitment. Yep. And I think happiness is overrated when it comes to the value that a good spouse can bring to your life.
Yeah, fact. And I know I've been long-winded about the segment, but I'm passionate about this. I'm gonna say this to you too, Lewis. My moment of that, and this is top tier vulnerability. My moment of that, my first son was born during COVID, and my wife had to do a C-section. And this is why I took it to a whole nother level for me. So in the postpartum room, you in this room with the little air. This is when we thought COVID was going to take the whole world out. You're in the little air ventilator joint, and she had a C-section, and they got you on all these different meds at different hours. So like Motrin is this, that every 4 hours is Tylenol, then something after that, and it's just this cycle. Bruh, the nurse forgets to come and give her pain meds for her C-section cut. So it wears off and she feels everything from the day before being cut open. So as I was helping her and everything, and this, you know, not trying to be graphic, but like I'm watching the blood drip from something she's feeling. I'm helping her clean the wound, and you do all that stuff to the point of being a partner. You start to go through stuff like that. All that little baby small stuff don't mean as much.
Exactly.
It's like, bro, like I'm watching this woman, like, and I don't think people realize with C-sections, your whole organs and all that get cut up. No meds for like 4 hours. It completely wore off. I can't go out the room to say like, hey, like y'all need to come here because they got you locked in a room. I'm banging, calling the nurse. They're not picking up the phone. It's like 3 a.m. The window is like taped down, so you don't know what time it is outside. And those acts like that give y'all a bond that like, okay, shit, I can't never really say, like, once I see you go through that, I can't trip on you, but so much. You know what I'm saying?
That's what marriage is.
Yeah. And it was obligation. I loved her, but it was obligation though. Like
that's the thing.
You would do this.
Yep.
So hey, that's all I got though, partner. I was long-winded on that one. I'm sorry.
Nah, that's it.
Any last thoughts on reason to stay married, y'all? Hey, look, everybody, we appreciate everybody tapping in tonight, the engagement, you all being here. Click a like button right here, man. It helps us on the algorithm. This is how we grow. Monday Night Crew records every other Monday, so we'll be in the same spot. The only place you get authentic entertainment. 2 weeks from now, tap in with us. If you in NC, we about to blow the roof off on the podcast party in September. But all the above, man, we got MVW, Mark Flow. Continue to tap in with us. Follow us on IG, Millennials vs. the World _podcast. Y'all have a great night. Monday Night Crew, and we are out.
We're gone.